What's going on, y'all? Hope all is well. Another wonderful episode of Combos with the CFP, Mario Payne, and beautiful Jacksonville, Florida. Before we get started, as always, like, subscribe, share to our channel. Keep on growing. Trying to get to the thousand subs, man. Gotta crawl before you walk. My daughter, she's 9, so she watches YouTube, her educational channels and things of that nature. She's like, Dad, you don't got 1,000 subs. What's going on? I don't know. So let's make my daughter be a believer and get 1,000 subs. It's crazy. I got more clients than subs, but we got to crawl before you walk. Man, this is just for entertainment. Of course, I have a 9 to 5, work more than 40 hours a week, having a practice, of course, having a staff, just extremely blessed. So my downtime, I do this to entertain. Are you entertained? But please do. And also check out our app, Let Bob, LETBOB. Investment app for you guys. And then also, of course, our ETF, the first Black-owned AI-powered ETF ever on the stock market, LETB. We came out February of last year, beat the market last year, this year. Check us out. Just extremely happy with all the money that's in the ETF. A lot of people investing in it. Almost at 30 million in assets, which is crazy to think about. Just extremely blessed. But for another day. But today, actually had a conversation with a client just about James Brown, actually. I don't know how the subject got about James Brown, but made me think though, right? So people thought about James Brown as this like great singer, but just like this bumbling, just kind of person, right? So I want to look at an interview as James Brown was doing the most, but then also talk about he may have been doing the most, but he had people in place to make sure when he was doing the most, he was protected financially, and why Lord rest his soul, when he passed away almost 20 years now, 2006, had over $100 million net worth.
He was released yesterday on $15,000 bond. He joins us from Atlanta to discuss the charges, and we welcome you, James Brown. How did all of this trouble begin?
Living in America.
He came out guns blazing, living in America. Now, yes, as celebrities, back then, and I think this was in the 80s or 90s, celebrity, wasn't no TMZ, but definitely celebrities was a thing, right? It was all about celebrities. It's always been like that for years. Even go back to the Roman days, right? The people that fought in the Coliseum, they were celebrities. Now, definitely different with cameras, but right, living in America.
There's nothing wrong.
No, this is
nothing wrong at all. You're not in any difficulty, but you're out on bond.
No, I'm not.
What do you mean?
Have all the charges been dropped?
Yeah, I'm out on love.
There you go. Hey, all about love.
Are you out on love or out of love? Which is it?
Out on love. Alone from night to night, you find me.
Now,
oh, James, this is going to be a good one. I just pulled this up, man. This is going to be a good one. As we can see, James Brown, even though he was joking with the reporter, James Brown was not dumb. You know, in 1968, he bought a radio station. He bought that radio station in 1968 for $75,000. Now, of course, radio has changed since 68, right? Back then, they had albums, then 8-track players, then cassettes, then CDs, then streaming, and just in the cloud today. When you think about the return on investment of a $75,000 radio station before radio really took off in the 70s and 80s when the Beatles popped up. Man, that is getting to the bag. So yes, James Brown's flamboyant, but in 1968, business-wise, he or the people around him, very smart decision buying a radio station in 1968 for $75,000. All right, James, give me some more. Give me some more.
James, this isn't the first time you and your wife have had a problem. Are the two of you going to be able to work this out?
Let's talk about some music.
You want to talk about music and you don't want to talk about what happened?
No, it's all over.
Well, let's talk about your tour. When are you leaving?
We're leaving tomorrow.
And where are you going?
Rio de Janeiro and Sao Paulo.
Oh, Brazil.
Your fans will have read all about this, James. Aren't you concerned about that?
No, Dagesha. I'm concerned because there's nothing wrong.
And what are you going to say to your fans when they ask you some questions about it?
I'm going to say I feel good. Papa's got a brand new bag. It's a man's world.
That was a great selling song, It's a Man's World. Now, he mentioned he went on tour. Again, in this video, it seems like he's all over the place. But when it comes to business, he was on point. Do you know that Brazil tour that he talked about, he was the promoter? James, get to the bag. Let's see how much he made with that. Look at here, right? That could leave anything between 50 to 70% of the gross, but there are no hard and fast rules for that divided between the act and the promoter. Commonly quote is that the promoter will take up to 15%. 15%, but that's just the promoter, right? But then also all of the business expenses tied to it. You think about all the expenses as a promoter, they get to write off. But if you're the promoter and you promote the show, you get all those write-offs. So I got paid, in this case, let's say $100,000. It's an extra $130,000 or $115,000. In this case, I keep it in my pocket because I am the promoter and the actor. However, if it costs $60,000 to get everything from the US to Brazil, the band, the printing of the tickets, the radio ads, the spins, the payola that you can't write off, paying the DJs to play your song, all that extra cost, you're writing it off. So yes, you save 15%, but how much taxes do you save as well from an income standpoint? So when individuals now are doing their own tours, they're doing things themselves, they're actually following the James Brown model. James Brown was one of the first people to do an international tour self-promoted. No big promoter, no record label doing it on his own. So in his interview, it seemed like he was all over the place, but business-wise, James Brown did some things that made you feel good. Come on, James, keep this interview going now.
That's the second time we've heard that in 2 days. That's very interesting. Now, don't leave us, James. You stay right there.
I'm not going to leave.
We have to talk about. Well, tell us a little bit about what you're going to be doing on this tour.
What's that?
What are you going to be doing on this tour?
I'm going to be doing Papa's Got a Brand New Bag, Living in America, Sex Machine, get up off of that thing.
Oh, gosh.
I feel good.
I feel good.
Yeah.
Oh, he felt
Now,
good.
I understand that you have already, James, I have to ask you one serious question here. I understand you already have started divorce proceedings. Does that mean that you're now eligible?
No, yes, I'm saying I want to mingle.
You want to mingle.
Oh, boy, James.
Now, the women love you when you get out there.
Oh, boy,
Why do you think that is?
What'd you say?
The women love you when you get out there.
Why is that, ladies?
Well, I'm asking you.
Huh? Because I
Why
look
do you think
good.
that is? You
I
look
smell good.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
feel good.
Okay.
And you
Wasn't that a
sing
song?
good.
And make love good.
Oh, don't James. Oh,
Well, there we are. We don't have to ask anybody else. We got that from the source.
Ah!
Now, you're involved in publishing a gospel magazine. Tell us a little bit about that.
Second Coming. It's out of Augusta, Georgia, the ankle.
Now, before we get started, you think about publishing. He also published books. Self-published. How much do we make when we self-publish a book? And again, it's the fanfare of James Brown now. So this interview, all over the place. But business-wise, he did things the right way. Let's see here. They vary across publishers. If you're a traditional route as well as stores, if you self-publish them directly, generally, standard royalty rates for authors is under 10% for traditional publishing. $100 I make, $10 goes to you forever, right? Up to 70% with self-publishing, even worse. So him having a magazine, self-publishing the magazine, that means for every $100 he made, he kept $10. But again, it's about the taxes. Since he did all the marketing as a publisher, all of the paying off people, payola that you can't write off, but you know what I'm saying. Him doing everything in-house. They said he was the hardest working man in show business, the godfather of soul. Hard working, but also having a good team behind you allows you to do what he did. So people may have laughed about the magazine. He may not have sold most magazines. It may have went up in flames over time, but over that short run, he got to the bag. Now, how was the money spent? We don't know how it was spent, but he had more money to spend, which probably means more music he made, more business ventures he was able to get into as well because he was pocketing that extra money. Godfather Soul, crazy in this interview, not so crazy when it comes to investing though.
P. Young is the editor, and James Brown is one of his advisors. And we're doing a fantastic job. The Second Coming. It features, on this week, I think we have the Pope and I believe the Williams brothers.
The Pope. Amazing. James Bond. Wow, James Brown. Whoa, I sound like James Brown that interview now. James Brown got the Pope in his magazine? Well, it's a gospel magazine, ain't it?
And next week we'll have Reverend Al Sharpton, I think, on the cover.
Reverend Al. Now, y'all say what y'all want about Reverend Al. I'm not trying to get political, but Reverend Al was actually one of his advisors. Reverend Al was actually his manager at one time. So Reverend Al was one of the people that put him in position to, in 2006, his estate being worth over $100 million in its demise, right? A lot of money. Especially back then, African Americans was not making the money that they're making now for various reasons. People in the right positions that advise you or him advising himself on not having a publisher, not having a promoter, doing everything in-house, made him get to the bag, even though in this interview, he was acting a fool.
And we'll be doing a lot of good things, and hopefully we'll get Brother Ted Turner on the cover. Ted, where you at?
James, we want to thank you for
Why she cut him off though? It couldn't get Ted Turner? You know what I'm saying? He is on CNN, ain't he?
being with us today.
Wait a minute, I just got here.
Oh, is there something more you want to say that we haven't
I want to
covered?
say another thing.
Okay, go ahead.
I love America. I love everybody.
Well,
I feel good.
It sounds to me as though you're not troubled by any of this at all.
This is a man's world.
Thank
James Brown, that was funny. It's a man and a woman's world. It's everybody's world. But that was a great interview. So in closing, James Brown did an amazing job to the point of having $100 million in his estate. Hardest working man in showbiz. I know he had a lot of crazy interviews like this, but he got to the bag because he was smart. He had individuals that made great recommendations. He took heed to those great recommendations, self-publishing a magazine, going on tour overseas, and him being his own promoter, not giving that money to different promoters and being able to write all that off from a tax standpoint, that helped. Now, from a legal standpoint, his estate, he had a will, not a trust. So that definitely hurt things when you had two parties arguing who's going to get the money when a person passes away. If you had a trust, it would have dictated who gets what and how it gets spent. When it comes to the will, you get the money and you can use it however you want to. I might do a second one about that, actually. But it just goes to show, though, James Brown, great job from a business standpoint, even doing these crazy interviews. Hope that helps, though. Gives us context on what to do when we get to the bag and how to get to the bag. Let's make some payment profits together, y'all. Peace.
Making the money mistakes, make a payment on your bills and you still late, yeah. Pay for profits to help you seek change, and you just wanna get paid, yeah. Tired of making no money mistakes, make a payment on your bills and you still late, pay for profits to help you seek change, yeah. Cut the show and just listen. You wanna feel empowered by making money decisions. Residual by the hours can get you a better living. Bitch at the check, you know, and it could be different, you know.